This is News. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Tommy.
News is actually two things. In the first instance, it is a live television news show broadcast on the internet, made by a group of children about their city for an audience of potentially millions. And the children decide what they want to make news stories about, and then they investigate and present those news stories themselves. Alongside this, News is also a theatre show in which an audience in a theatre get to watch the making of this news show take place, and in some instances actually contribute to the making of that news show themselves. So when you come into the theatre, what you see on stage is the set of this news show, and a desk full of our young 9 and 10-year-old news reporters working hard, putting their stories together. And over the course of the first half of the show, the children interact with the audience, asking them questions, interviewing them. They make phone calls out into the city to find out what's going on, and sort of gathering more and more information that can then form part of the news show, which is filmed in the second half of the show, in which the audience gets to see the children working as news anchors, presenting stories, some of which they've shared themselves in the first half of the show, alongside a series of short films that the children have made, in which they go out into the city and report on things that matter to them. The show is made with a different group of local children in each city where we make the show. We go and work with a local school, usually, for 3 weeks, and each of those weeks has a different emphasis. The first week is about asking those children what they want to investigate, what they care about, what they think news ought to be, and deciding upon the stories that they want to go out in search of. The second week, we go out into the city. The children get to interview people that they think can help them to tell their story. They might do vox pops out on the street. They might do some live presenting from a particular place that is important for their news story. And then in the final week, we are rehearsing the live show itself, in which each of the children will have a different role on the news team that will then present the show live on the night. I think something that I've learned through this project is, given the opportunity, children make surprisingly good interviewers and surprisingly good investigators of what's going on in their city or in their neighbourhood.
I wanted to know, how do homeless people get money and food?
What choices did they make that turned out for them to be homeless?
Are the council helping the homeless, and are the council using all their effort to help the homeless?
They know almost instinctively the right questions to ask, the difficult questions to ask, and they are much harder to deceive than adults are.
How did you become homeless?
By choosing the wrong path when I was at school. It all started at school, and it snowballed on, and eventually it all caught up with me, and I ended up homeless.
And I think that that relationship of the children to the people that they're interviewing, but also the children to the audience that they are broadcasting to, truth becomes more tangible, and that, I think, being able to see the way in which truth is being constructed perhaps helps us to trust more what we are being told than we do in the kind of the slickness and the smoothness of contemporary television news broadcasting. I think the kind of the slight crudeness, the slight clunkiness, the simplicity, both of the children's approach to journalism and also of the product that they are making helps us to perhaps grasp how the news is being made in a way that we've lost track of.
Ethan and Daniel both had very interesting things to say.
I believe Daniel more because he's an MP and he isn't allowed to lie.
It's not good to lie.
I believe Nathan more because he seemed more truthful and he told us more information.
News is in some ways a sort of follow-up to a previous show that myself and my partner Beckie Darlington made called Lookout, and that show was a simple sort of one-to-one performance, but the emphasis again was on asking children to consider the city in which they live or the place in which they live, and to have a voice in the civic discourse of that place. And this show sort of builds on some of the skills and experiences that we learned from making that previous show, and puts them on a larger stage and on a larger scale, and hopefully gives children even more of a voice in saying what is happening in their city and how can they play a role in changing the city for the better.
Is it true that Cambridge is a safe place to live?
It depends where you go, but I think it's quite safe.
How do you know that?
Because I'm still alive.
Thank you very much.
So now that the project is made, our plan is to hopefully be able to go out and remake this project, working with different groups of children in different parts of the world, to see all the different ways in which the cities they live in and the cultures that they're from shape their perception of what is important for the news to tell.